we're going to be talking all about accessibility. And we have special guests here with us today, Curts and Katherine Goyette. So we are super excited to have them here. We're also joined by California Educators Together. Awesome, thank you.
Hello, so excited to have you here with us today. So you just met Tani, she's from the Sacramento County Office of Ed, and Stephanie from Santa Cruz County Office of Ed. I'm Krista Norum from the Santa Clara County Office of Ed. We're also joined by Sarah Kolbeck from Shasta, and we also have another member who's not with us today, Anupama Gupta. Very excited you're here. Thank you so much. Okay, and so today's agenda, if you've been to one of these, it's pretty much a similar pattern. So we're going to start with our welcome and introduction. We're going to have our featured speakers and partners, and then closing.
All right. So Stephanie mentioned that we have a group here called California Educators Together. And if you've never heard of this platform, I highly recommend you go check it out. I think maybe we could drop the link in the chat here, just so you have it on hand later. But this is an incredible platform that collects pre-made lesson plans that are vetted. So they've got all the different aspects of just a well-rounded lesson plan, from UDL supports to ELD considerations, and they specifically target standards and grade levels. So go explore there. But the really great thing is that later today, after our EdTech Playground from 5 to 5:30, if you're interested, stay with us because they're going to talk about an additional stipend opportunity. And you can see some details right there. I last weekend had the pleasure of going to their Lesson Design Institute, and it was amazing. Like I've been a teacher for over 10 years, and I learned such amazing things about lesson design and resources, and just kind of invigorated my idea of the way I look at a lesson. So highly recommend you stay with us if you have the chance from 5 to 5:30. And then next up, thanks to Seasons of CS and the CDE Foundation, we are able to offer these incredible stipend opportunities when you join us for TIN. So I am going to pass this over to Kat Goyette. She is from the CDE Foundation, and she is going to talk about why we partner with Seasons of CS and why it's so intricate and intertwined with the EdTech work that we do as we bridge over to the computer science world. So
thanks
Kat,
so much, Tani. Yeah, so we have the great opportunity to, through the California Department of Education and through the foundation and other partners, to provide a stipend through a grant that is to support professional learning for computer science. And so EdTech and digital learning truly is a gateway and on-ramp to computer science, which kind of goes a bit deeper into the intricacies of living in a digital world and how it all works, so to speak. So we are excited to support this, and we will share other opportunities that you can also attend to receive stipends to learn more about computer science in some future slides as we move along here. So this is the graphic for our Seasons of CS, and this shows just an example, if you just go back one, that as we engage in digital learning in alignment with the ISTE standards, which are EdTech standards internationally, that it takes us on our way to better understanding the concept areas of computer science, impacts of computing, networks in the internet, algorithms of programming, computing systems, and data and analysis. And we will go just a bit deeper in that at the end.
All right, thanks, Kat. And it feels a little silly to reintroduce you again, but I'd like to give you a little bit of background information about our two amazing presenters today. So we'll be talking all about accessibility and how to use technology to really support accessibility for your students. And we are so excited to be joined by Katherine Goyette and Curts. Like Tani and Krista shared when they're mentioning our agenda, really the meat of our EdTech Playgrounds is getting to have two amazing guest presenters each time to share their wisdom with us. And I'm going to just start by giving you a little bit of background on each of our presenters. So Katherine Goyette is an author, educator, and leader, and she's currently the computer science coordinator at the California Department of Education. There, she leads statewide efforts to increase equitable access to computer science, STEAM, and AI literacy. So we're so lucky to have you, Katherine. And Eric, with over 30 years of experience, Eric works as an EdTech specialist in Ohio and provides training to organizations across the country. He's a certified Google trainer and innovator and shares all of his EdTech resources on his website, controlaltachieve.com. If you have not already bookmarked that, you need to do that right now. So I'm going to turn it over to Eric first, and then Eric will pass to Katherine.
All right. Well, hey, thank you so very much for that wonderful introduction. I'm going to start off by sharing my screen since all my resources will be there. Give me a moment to pull that up and make sure that all looks good. And let's go ahead and share that. All right. So we should be seeing the Google Tools to Support All Learners screen. Excellent. Fantastic. So before we do anything, I want to make sure everybody can get to the resource document that has all of my resources in there. I'll go ahead and I think I've got this to copy and paste. I'll just drop it right into the chat here for everybody. And so bit.ly, you can see it on the screen there as well, but bit.ly /Curts-support. That will get you to a resource document that has everything we're going to be looking at, more than we're going to get to in our 25 minutes here. So, but anyway, this is where that document takes you, and all the resources are in there. You're absolutely welcome to bookmark this, add it to your drive, make a copy of it, whatever works best for you. If you do make a copy, though, make sure you click on the original every now and then to get back, because I update it quite frequently, and that way you can always get back to the original document as well. At the top of that document, you'll find all of my contact info. So if you do want to check out the blog at Control-Alt-Achieve, please feel free to do so. But my email, socials, YouTube, email, newsletter, Facebook group, all these different ways to connect are all there at the top. And then after that are all the resources that we're going to be pulling from. So basically what we're talking about in this part of our time together are tools to support all learners, tech tools, with a focus on tools that are either from Google or that play nicely in the Google ecosystem. So these may be tools that work well inside of Docs or on a Chromebook or just in the Chrome browser in general. And so what I've done is I've pulled them together into some categories here. And we're just going to pick a couple out of each category. So text-to-speech, speech-to-text, readability, reading comprehension, AI, audio support, behavior focus, things like that. Now, as I go through these, you can just scroll down through the document as well, and you'll see all of those categories. So text-to-speech, speech-to-text, readability, and so on. And again, I'll be picking a couple out of each of these to highlight as we go through here. If at any point you have a question on anything, please do throw it in the chat. Hopefully we'll be able to catch that and we can address your questions and comments. And please also just share for the benefit of everybody. If you've used these tools, how have you used them? How did they work? You know, any suggestions you have, or other tools that we should add to this list. We're all here to learn from everybody here today. I'm not here to present to you as much as to learn with you. So thanks so much for that. All right, well, let's dive on in. So the first thing we're going to do is pick something out of text to speech. So basically tools that are going to read text aloud for students. One of my favorites in this is a Chrome extension called Read and Write for Google Chrome. You can install that from the Chrome Web Store. The links are in the agenda document there. So let's say I'm a student and I'm going to read this article on Dogo News, and I might like a little bit of support. Maybe it'd be helpful for it to be read aloud to me or for me to read along with it. Well, if I've got the Read and Write extension installed, I get a little extension icon up in the top of my browser. I can click on that little Read and Write extension icon up there. And once Read and Write pops up, I'll give it a moment here to show up. I may just need to click it again there. There it is, which is being a little bit shy. Awesome. Once that pops up, I get a whole bunch of buttons, but the one I'm interested in is the play button here. So what I'm going to do is simply select some text and hit the play button.
WH, I'll, and,
Oh, well,
ire,
sorry about that.
mo.
I may have done something wrong. It should obviously be reading the entire text. Let's try that again. My bad.
Capital T.
No,
P.
it's my bad. I'll refresh the page. Of course, I just tested this right before we were on here. And so I'll just pull up another one just to give it a fresh start. Again, my apologies for that. We'll pop that back up and let read and write come back up here. Give it just a second to appear. You can do it, buddy. I believe in you. And once it shows up, we'll give that another shot. My apologies.
About 4.5 billion years ago, a Mars-sized planet smashed into the newly formed Earth. The collision ejected a large amount of planetary debris into space.
Now, that just goes to show you, refresh. It's always a good idea. If something goes wrong, that's technology. Sometimes it happens. No worries. Just hit the refresh button and give it another shot. So that's one of the tools that I really like. That's going to run on a PC, a Mac, a Chromebook, anything where you can install extensions. Now, if you have a Chromebook, you could also, of course, just use the built-in select to speak tool on a Chromebook. And so that's a beautiful thing about Chromebooks is there's great accessibility built right into them. And I do have my Chromebook sitting here next to me. Basically, the idea is you can go on down to your accessibility settings there, turn on things like select to speak, and that allows you to simply come down, click on the select to speak button, and then select the text that you want read aloud.
Well, an entire month free of homework or tests may sound
and there that is reading on my Chromebook next to me over there. So that's fantastic to read text aloud. But what if it's not text that can be selected easily? Google also has a tool called Google Lens that can grab text from real life as well as from images. So remember that one we were looking at here, this earlier article, it's got this graph in here. And what if I wanted to have that read aloud? Well, unfortunately, it's a picture. I can't actually grab the text in there. That's a picture. What do? Well, if I right click on it and I say search the image with Google, it brings up Google Lens. And Google Lens can basically do OCR on the image. I can click text and it can find all the text that's in there. I can select the text and then I can hit listen.
The countries where kids do the most homework. Hours of homework per week in selected countries.
Amazing. I can also translate it, do all kinds of things with it. So that's basically the point is, no matter where the text is, we can have it read aloud, which can really help us so much to help support our students. Now, that's one direction. Going the other way would be speech to text. What if I want to speak and have my words typed up for me? A lot of options here. One of my favorites is Doc's voice typing, where basically we just speak and it types up what we say. So I'm going to pull up a pretend George Washington report here. And let's say that I wanted to add some more text into this. Well, if I'm not very proficient at typing, maybe, I'm still learning. Maybe I injured my hand. Maybe I'm not the best speller. I'm getting frustrated as I'm trying to type. Well, we don't want that to happen for our students. So I can go to the tools menu, come on down to voice typing, which pops up a little microphone. Go ahead and give a click on that. Now that I have clicked on the microphone, anything I say will automatically be typed into the document, period. Excellent. This is a wonderful way for students to be able to get their ideas onto the page. Now, certainly it's great to have them learn how to type and improve those skills. But if they're struggling, we don't want to put on hold their ability to share what they're thinking. And so this is always a fantastic tool to be able to support our students. Now that works great if you're inside of Google Docs and inside of Google Slides. It works in both of those. But what if you're not? Well, if you're somewhere else, you can use an extension like Voice In. This is a free extension. By the way, everything I'm showing tonight, these are all free tools, every single one of them. But Voice In lets you do the same thing pretty much on any text box. So if I pop over to, for example, this Google form here, and I'll zoom in so you can see it a little bit better. Let's say I'm trying to fill out a quiz or something like that. I can click in the box, click on the Voice In extension, and let's try that out. Now that I have clicked on the extension, anything I say will automatically be typed into the Google form. And there we go. Awesome. Fantastic. So that can be used anywhere that we have a blinking cursor that we might want to type in. And again, if you're on a Chromebook, don't forget, those accessibility tools are just built in. You don't even need an additional extension. There is a dictation tool. Again, I can pop over to my Chromebook and show you in the accessibility settings. There's the dictation tool turned on, which gives us a little microphone down here. I can click on that anytime I need and just speak, and it will type up for me. All right, so what else can we talk about? Another category, readability. So what do I mean by this? In this case, what I'm talking about is anything that helps us, a student, anybody, read content more easily. So this is a pretty broad category here. As you look in the agenda document and scroll on down to the section on readability, you'll see there's quite a number of tools. Obviously, we're not going to go through all of them. I'll just pick out a couple of them to highlight, but I would encourage you to explore through these. And by the way, the slideshow that I'm going through here, it likewise is linked in here. That if anybody is curious about that, at the very top of my document, below my presenter info, below the table of contents, in the general resources, there's the slideshow right there. I will just highlight it so we can all see it real quick. You can view it, or you can make your own copy of it as well if you need. So if that helps you go a little deeper into some of these tools too, you do have full access to that slideshow. So let's talk about some readability tools here. There's so many, and some of them I will not demonstrate. I'll just mention things like just choosing the right font that can help support students. There's fonts like the Lexend font that was designed to reduce visual stress and improve reading performance. It's one of the almost 1,600 free fonts that Google provides in its tools. Then there's extensions like Open Dyslexic that will change the font on web pages. Then there's tools like Bionify. Now, this one's kind of interesting. I don't know if you've heard of Bionic Reading. This became really popular a few years ago, and I just had somebody contact me the other day saying, hey, Eric, I've got a student who's having trouble with reading because when they go to read, they're missing the beginning of the word. They're grabbing a couple of letters into the word, and so they're not actually grabbing the beginning of the word. Is there any way that we can kind of emphasize the beginning of each word? And I said, oh my gosh, that's bionic reading. That's what it's called. And so here's an extension. I'll show you this one. So let's say I pop back over here, and I'll zoom in just a bit to make this maybe easier to see so you can see what's happening. If I go up and click on my bionic reading extension and I click toggle Bionify, notice what happens to the text here when I do that. Basically, it takes the beginning part of the word and it makes it bold so that as somebody's reading along, they don't miss where each new word begins as they're reading, and that can help keep them on target there as they're reading, which is fantastic. Good stuff there. Other tools that I would throw into readability would be things like Postlight Reader. This is one that just cleans up distractions on a web page so you can focus on what you're trying to read. So if I pop back over here to Dogo News, great site, don't get me wrong, I love it, but they've got ads, they've got popular articles, they've got comments down at the bottom. There's a lot going on here. Well, if I have Postlight Reader installed, I can just come up and click on the little rocket ship extension icon for that. And basically what it does is just cleans up the page. It removes everything except the core content, just what's important. There's no ads, there's no comments, there's no, you might also like, just the article itself. And of course, I can go into the settings gear here, switch the size of the text, switch the font of the text, and even switch the theme, the color of it from light to dark. So excellent tool to help us. And again, lots more there. Things like reading mode. Here's one that just has rolled out. Probably you've got it now. It's been rolling out over the last few weeks for sure with Google Chrome. And this is a side panel that's just built right into Google Chrome that allows you to get a cleaned up version of any page that you're on. So if I pop right back over to that exact same page that we were just on there, and if I go up to the very top right-hand corner, there's a little button. That's your side panel button in Chrome. If you click that, it lets you get to your bookmarks and your history and your Google search and all kinds of stuff. It also has a reading mode option. If you don't see it yet, like I said, it is still rolling out. But if I click on reading mode, what it does is it gives me a cleaned up version of the same page. So here's the article I'm reading. Well, here's one without the, all the other stuff, just the core text from it. Now, not only is it just the text, but I can come in here and say, okay, this is great. Let's switch this to, hey, there's that Lexend font we were talking about, or let's make the font bigger, or let's change the line spacing, or let's change the spacing between the letters, or let's change the color scheme on this so it's easier for us to be able to read. And they're adding a text-to-speech feature. Google just announced that at BET last week. There's going to be a little speaker button up here to read what's in reading mode as well. So such a nice feature built right into Google Chrome there for you. Awesome stuff. All right, well, we could spin forever, but we got to move on. There's lots of other ones, tools like Reader View, Alpha Text, Line Height Adjuster, Helper Bird, Wasp Line Reader, Swift Read, Color Overlay. All of these are fantastic tools that do something to help support a reader with readability. So I would definitely encourage you to explore those. Next category, I'm just going to barely touch on because a lot has happened with AI recently that's really affected this next category. This is the reading comprehension category. And so this includes tools that help students after they've read something with the readability tools to understand what they've read. And this includes things like Google Dictionary. Google Dictionary is a great extension where basically if I come across a word that I don't know, I can simply double click on that word and it pops up a pronunciation and a definition of it. It's a really nice feature to have if a student's reading along and they get stuck, on a particular word. They don't know what it means. Well, hey, this is a way to give them some additional support for that word. Turns out, as always with Chromebooks, if you have a Chromebook, you actually don't even need that extension. This is built into Chromebooks. It's something called Quick Answers. If you turn this on in your search settings, you simply right-click on any word, and again, you get a pronunciation and a definition of that, which is fantastic to be able to support a reader. Now, normally, this is when I would have talked about things like Summary or Quillbot or Auto Highlight, and these are great tools. I'm not going to say anything negative about them. It's just this was kind of what used to be the cream of the crop, the best tools we had to do things like summarize an article so students could understand it better, or create a bullet point list of key points from the article, paraphrase an article in simpler terms. Now, I still think they're great. Summary is great, Quillbot's great, Auto Highlight, but you know what's happened, right? Over the last year, generative AI. And so this really is the new powerful tool for this. So whether you're using something like Google Bard or ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot or Anthropic's Claude, there are so many generative AI tools or tools that build on top of them, whether it's Magic School AI or Diffit or whatever the case might be. And many of these tools can do exactly what we were just saying, taking a text and re-leveling it so that it's appropriate for a student. Let's just do a quick demo here. Obviously, we could spend way more time on this. And what I'll say is that if you do want to go deeper, please do in my document, look on page 5. Here's the generative AI content. I've got over probably 5-6 hours of training videos with loads and loads of resource tools here that you can explore, as well as lots of examples of how to use these tools. So you can definitely dive into those, but let's just do a quick look here. So for example, we might use these tools to help with something like supporting reading. So let's say I pop over to Bard and I have a reading passage. I'm just going to copy this from my other screen here and paste it in. I could grab a reading passage and say something like, hey, can you rewrite the text at a simpler reading level? Keep it all the same content, just rephrase it in a way that's simpler and easier to understand. And it's a couple paragraphs about the Boston Tea Party. So I can drop that in there. And again, whether this is ChatGPT or Copilot or Claude, or you pick the tool that you like, there's a free version of every single one of these. And there we go. Here it is now explaining that to us, giving us the same main information, but in a simpler, easier to understand manner that we could then pass that on. We could copy that, give that to a student. Or we could go a little further and we could say something like this. Hey, can you pick 10 words from the original text that might be challenging for a student? Give us a bullet list of those 10 words along with definitions to help explain what those are. Now, again, I could copy this, provide it to students, say, you're going to read this article. By the way, you may come across these words. Instead of us having to generate these ourselves, we've got them there for us right now. So that could be great. Same thing with writing. We could use AI to help generate writing prompts, main ideas, outlines, things like that to help support students when they start writing, but also to provide feedback. Let's do one of those. So I've got a pretend little article here that I pretended that I wrote. I'm going to go ahead and drop this in here. So for this one, I'm saying, hey, you're an excellent teacher. You understand what makes for good writing and communication. The text below is from an informational report for a high school writing assignment. please provide feedback on the strengths, the weaknesses, and how to improve it. And trust me, there's a lot of spelling errors in it and grammatical errors and things like that. And so now it's saying, hey, here's some strengths on your writing, but here's some weaknesses. And then here are some suggestions for what you could do to improve it. What a fantastic way to come alongside and support a student with that. Other ways, of course, as a personal tutor, explaining any topic at any level to meet a student where they're at, or love this, got to give a shout out. Tools like School AI and Sorcerer. I'll pull School AI over. I got on another screen here just to show you real quick the idea. And these also do have a free version. All of these tools do. School AI, I love this one for tutoring as well as many other things, because what it does is it allows the teacher to go in and basically choose or create a custom chat bot. So you can say, okay, I want my students to chat with a historical figure or talk about a career or talk about a book they've read, or we're going to do a bell ringer. We're going to do what else do we have here? A topic explorer. We're going to do a tutoring session. Now, what happens is you then get a link to give to your students. Every student clicks the link and they get their own personal conversation with that chatbot. Now, they're not signing up for an account. It's all totally walled garden, so students of any age can use it. And not only can they then talk to that chat tool, you get to monitor all of it. Like I did a tutoring session with some teachers just to try this out, where basically I said the tutoring session is going to be about how to simplify mathematical expressions. And basically the AI says, hey, you know, I'm your tutoring session helper. You know, what would you like to work on? And I said, oh, I'd like to work on some, you know, content weaknesses I have. Okay, excellent, you know, and says, well, let's dive on into this. And we started working through a personalized tutoring experience. This has been the promise of technology for so long, that we can provide personalized, individualized feedback and guidance for students. Hard to do when there's one of us and 125 of them. But with AI, we can coach it. We can give it very detailed rubrics and guidelines and say, this is exactly what I want you to do. And then the AI will meet each student where they're at. If they're struggling, it can help reteach. If they're excelling, it can help them enrich and go further with it. And a tool like School AI allows me to monitor everything that's being said. I see everything the AI said, everything the students said, and it even will summarize the entire class for me to let me know what I might need to work on. So wonderful tools for that. All right. Well, what else can we chat about here? I know we could spend forever on this, but our next category is audio support. So here we're talking about tools that allow us to record audio and then put that into a Google Doc, a Google Slide, a Google Classroom, something like that, because sometimes that can be helpful for a student to not just read, but to hear us actually speaking to them. And there's tools for this like Mote, or Beep, or even Read and Write has its own voice note tool in there. For this quick example, I'm just going to show Beep as a quick example for this. Let me pull up my George Washington report here that has some intentional errors in it. And let's say I wanted to give some personalized spoken feedback to my student. Well, I could come in here, select like the word commander that is spelled wrong, and I could click on the comment button. And notice I've got a new button here that you may not see in yours. I've got a voice comment button. Well, that's because I've got Beep, the extension, installed. I can now simply click on voice comment and I can record a comment. Hey, this is Mr. Kurtz. Just want to let you know, anytime you see those red squiggly lines under a word, chances are that means it is misspelled. So you do need to take a moment and look through your document, see where those misspellings are, and work on correcting those. Let me know if you have any questions on those. Hit save. Go ahead, and then once that's saved, I'll click on the submit button here. And there we go. Now, when the student goes to open up their document, they can click here and, hey, this is Mr. Kurtz. Just want to let you know, anytime you see those red, and they can hear that. Now, if they don't have Beep installed, they'll still see the link. They won't see the play button. The play button shows up if Beep is installed. If they don't, they just click the link. It then opens up a page with the happy little play button, and then they click it. Hey, this is Mr. Kurtz, and they're good to go. So it may be one extra click, but if they have the extension installed, which again is free, then they have the button there as well. So audio support can be a great way for you to support them, as well as for students to record their own voice as well. I know we're down to our last couple of minutes, so I'll mention some other tools just quickly, probably not demonstrate them, but there's a lot of great tools I've got collected under behavior focus and organization. Tools like Limit to help limit how many minutes you spend on websites per day. Tools like uBlock Origin to block distracting ads. Things like Move It, which is a real fun extension that gives students wiggle breaks. Basically, you set a timer and say every 30 minutes you need a brain break. Well, it's going to give them a chance to get up and do a jumping jack or whatever, give them something physical to do. And on and on and on. Tools like Tide, which is a focus timer. So you set how many minutes you need to work. And it also has some ambient audio noise to help drown out distracting elements. Always love to give a shout out to things like Google Keep as an organization tool. It allows you to add voice notes, links, pictures, handwritten notes, typed notes, whether you're on your phone or online through the extension. And then the beauty is anything you put in Keep, you can access from like Google Docs. If I was doing this George Washington report, I could click on the little Keep icon over here on the side, and now I'm going to have access to all of my Google Keep notes and say, hey, I want to add this, George Washington picture right in there, and I could insert it right into my document. So fantastic. Lots of other great tools in that category. And the last section I have is navigation. So tools like, custom cursor, so you can actually see the cursor as you're using it and can customize it to something that you enjoy, as well as other tools that make it easier for a student to be able to move through web pages or click on links as they're navigating through. So lots there. All of those tools, everything there can all be found at bit.ly/Curts-support. I add new things to it all the time. I hope to get new suggestions from you guys as well that I should be investigating, but please feel free to take advantage of that document. Again, at the very, very top of that, you'll also find the slideshow there, as well as some recordings I've done on this, and of course, all of my contact information. Whatever works best for you, I would love to connect with you in the future. So thank you so very much. And I think that's my time. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there. And actually, I'm going to turn it over to Kat. That's what I'm going to do. So let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen here.
Thanks so much, Eric.
And I'm going to turn this over to Kat, and she's going to now take you through her portion of this and build on top of everything we've done. So take it away, Kat.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So grateful for you, Eric, and all of the great resources that you always provide. If you just want to be up on the most recent updates on all the Google tools, Eric's site is definitely the place to go. I've been going there for years. So thank you for that, Eric. So we are in this world of AI now. And so I thought, I'm just going to ask ChatGPT for a good title for this portion of today's session. So it came up with accessibility, or I said, I think I came up with accessibility in a digital world inundated by AI, but ChatGPT came up with these other ideas. So if you think that ChatGPT had a better title than me, all the more power to you. This just gives us options. It's pretty cool, right? Options are a good thing. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide. And I want to ask you all a question. So imagine you are asked to meet the individual social, emotional, and academic needs of 37 students in your classroom simultaneously while guiding each learner toward mastery of grade level standards in alignment with district initiatives less than 5 years after a global pandemic, youth mental health crisis, natural disasters across the state, a looming budget deficit, and a national teacher shortage. So which of these images reflects how you feel? So I'd love to hear in the chat. I'd love to see in the chat, I should say, the kayaker. All right. So excited, maybe that's excitement, adventure, which is great. Person in the rain. Some people are like, I'm not so sure. Some people, the beach, ocean, just keep calm. Being slammed. Okay, so I thought the kayak was like adventure because I want to go kayaking like that. Some of you are like, it's just too, it's a little crazy. Absolutely. So what we have to think about is that the reality is we are social emotional beings, right? And so as educators and our students as well, we have to think about how does this all work together and how does it impact our learning? So if we looked at the next slide, can any of you relate to that last example there? You may, yes, I'm seeing some yeses, perfect. So moving forward, what you'll see is that this stress that we have as individuals, and to be honest, that many of our students who have special needs that need accessibility support in order to have access to our grade level content, they're stressed. They're overwhelmed, right? And so what does that do? In the brain, that puts our amygdala into overdrive. If you're a Zaretta Hammond fan, she calls that the amygdala hijack. And so that negatively affects memory and learning. So the important thing is that human connection releases oxytocin, it calms our anxiety, and it counteracts that cortisol. So thinking about that, Eric shared some great resources at the end of his presentation about helping us to kind of manage our time and things like that. And when we think about accessibility, these are things that sometimes we forget about, because yes, it's very important that the content is accessible, but if we are not in an emotional state where we're ready to learn, it doesn't even matter. We're still going to be foggy. So if we move on, I'd like you all, especially after imagining all the things you have to do, putting yourself in that situation, I'd like you to just take a few seconds to breathe, as is shown on this GIF. Do you think your students ever feel the way you feel? So this is De-Stress Monday is a website that's on the resources that that you will have from me, that has all sorts of these GIFs that you could put in the middle of presentations when you think, I think my students are going to be a bit stressed at this point. They're going to feel a bit overwhelmed and they're just going to need a moment of mindfulness. Feel free to go ahead and do that. Let's look at the next slide. And the great part, you may be feeling a bit stressed right now, but the really great part is that the brain is built to repair itself. It has what's called neuroplasticity. And so we know that encouraging methods to help our social emotional learning does foster that brain growth. Well, what does that have to do with technology? Because this is an EdTech playground, right? So let's see what this has to do with technology. Before we do though, I have resources. We're only going to go over a couple of these competency areas today from the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. However, I want you to know that these 5 pie pieces in the middle are the competencies, and I have resources for each of those. The first is self-awareness, self-management. I like to move over to the green next: social awareness, relationship skills, and then responsible decision making. So let's move forward and start with self-awareness. So you'll see this is the ability to understand your own emotions, thoughts, and values and how they influence behavior. So this is students understanding who they are. What are their triggers that make them upset? What do they need? I know for myself, I know I get kind of hangry if I'm at a professional learning event and I haven't had a snack. So I have to take care of myself ahead of time and bring my own, right? These are things that as adults we've learned over the years, but we have to teach our students to do this as well. So let's look forward. I'd like you to think about technology. Is technology a distraction, or can it actually help fuel your self-awareness? Does anybody have a smartwatch? Does that help you? Right? Does it tell you, oh my gosh, my heart rate is going up, I should probably calm down, I should go take a walk, right? There are now smart rings. I really want one, but the one I want is only it only works with iPhones and I have an Android, so I'm waiting. But yes, reminding you to breathe, right? You can look at your phone and see what your screen time is and try to make some goals based on that. There's this interesting digital flourishing self-assessment that I think is fascinating. If you want to know where you stand in regards to some different areas of the digital world. And I will say, I took this and I was low on physical movement. So they actually consider physical movement part of this in this technology digital world too. So, because I love my devices. My mother-in-law uses uses technology to monitor her glucose levels, right? And it gives her insulin as she needs it. So technology is a good thing and helps us with our self-awareness. So yeah, let's look at the next one there. And I want you to think about, sometimes we think technology, does it fuel my self-awareness, or is it just making me and my students lazy? Right? Does anyone think that sometimes? Like, oh, it's just doing the work for my kids. So I thought back in the world of AI, what was it like for me in the 1990s when I was in high school? Yes, I just dated myself. It's okay. I'm comfortable with it. So I thought back to the 1990s where I had the privilege of living in a home where my father had a personal computer, which was not very common at the time. And so I used WordPerfect. I don't know if anyone remembers WordPerfect. It had a grammar checker, looked a little bit like this. And so when I would write my papers in high school, I would use the grammar checker. And after this happened a few times, I realized I learned about the difference between active and passive voice, and my writing got better. Is that making me lazy, or is that making me a better student, right? And then I thought, well, what's it like in today's AI, right? Oh, good, someone knows WordPerfect. Thanks for sharing that in the chat. So I put a blog post into ChatGPT because I know it's collecting everything. So I didn't want to put like my next book that hasn't been published yet because someone might steal it. I know that that's like, it could be a thing, right? You got to think about data collection. So anyway, I put a blog post I already had published, and I said, based on this writing sample, describe the author, that's me, style, tone, strengths, and opportunities for growth as a writer. And sure enough, it gave me some things to do. So part of this self-awareness piece, particularly in this world of AI, is showing our students that we can actually utilize technologies to build our own self-awareness. Because if you're not self-aware, you can't move on to self-management, right? And that has to do with a lot of things. It has to do with the way that we learn. How do we best learn? What do we need as humans, as individuals, to make sure that we are ready to learn? And so teaching our students these skills are really, really important. That self-awareness is key. My stepdaughter, who has autism, when she would get upset, a couple of years ago, she would throw a toy at her sister, or she would hit someone, right? Because she didn't have the awareness to say, I am mad, right? So now, once we finally helped her to understand that there is this awareness of, oh, I'm mad. Now that I'm mad, now I can go find something that's safe. I can go hit a pillow, or I can go run outside, or whatever it may be. So we have to start with that self-awareness. Let's move on to the next slide and move on to the self-management. This is where we actually say, okay, I know there's something wrong, or I know there's something I need. I know I'm feeling overwhelmed, or I know I have trouble starting my papers. What do I do? So if we move forward here, there's different ways that we can do this. And this is all based on brain research. So we want to identify and remove any barriers that we have, and that aligns to universal design for learning. So let's just move forward on that. There is brain research behind all of that. And what you may think is, well, Katherine, you said you need a snack during, so you don't get hangry during professional learning activities, but I don't. So I'm not going to give snacks to everyone. Well, it might be necessary for me, but it might be beneficial to all. I might need closed captions on videos because it's difficult for me to hear. And yet there are others that might not need that, but that it would be helpful for them as well. So we want to try and let all of our students know what accessibility tools, like Eric shared, are available. So let's see what are some different ways to do this. One thing is, One barrier that many teachers have told me they're facing is that kids are not motivated. Anyone having that challenge? Kids aren't motivated, they don't care, they were learning from home, or maybe not learning from home, sitting there for 2 years, right? Yes, I'm seeing some yeses in the chat. So here's what we know. You could tell, I love brain research. I'm not a neuroscientist by any means, but I love to read books about it and pretend I know a little bit about it, like this much. And what I've learned is that dopamine, and when that's activated, it increases motivation. Well, one of the ways that we can do that is with games. So if your students need to be motivated, one of the ways you can increase access for that is to use games. So there's actually an article here. I linked it in the resources. If we move on to the next slide, you'll see a quick bit from that. It also talks about checklists. So mini games, checklists, same type of thing. What can we do in regards to games? Let's look and see. So on the next slide, you'll see quizzes. Are any of you familiar with quizzes? Here's my favorite part about quizzes right now. Quizzes now has AI where you can take a PDF or a document or your notes or an article or anything like that. You put it into the quizzes AI, and within seconds, you say, I want 15 questions. It does it for you. Now, is it 100% perfect? Not necessarily, but it's pretty close. I did this with the California's AI guidance. I only had to change like 2 questions. Pretty cool. So yes, generate quizzes in seconds. Let the technology do that for you. Yes, there is a free version and a paid version. I have the free version and it is sufficient. I know lots of teachers that also have the free version and it is just fine. Also on the next slide, you'll see Quizlet. Quizlet has some new AI features as well. So that's another great thing that you can use. If we move on, we're going to talk a little bit about how students express their learning and how we can give options for that. So let's move on. Does anybody have any challenges with kids not realizing that they are a little loud in class? Anyone? Oh, someone used this yesterday too. Okay, so this is called bouncy balls, especially for our younger kids, though I think high schoolers might think it's kind of cool too. So what it'll do is it will actually listen through the microphone and it will let them know if it's too loud. So it's kind of like a game too, to be honest, right? All right, let's look at the next one. This I like too. This has a similar feature and just lets kids know, like, this is what you need to do. They can manage because they can look up at the screen. They're self-managing because they're saying, oh, I'm supposed to be whispering. Oh, it's a red light. That means no technology right now. It's a yellow light. That means if I need it. It's a green. That means I should be using technology, whatever it may be. And timers can help with that too. So this is another one, classroomscreen.com. What if kids are distracted? Eric shared some great resources. There's also one, if you look at the next slide there, called Visor that will visually just highlight a certain portion as you are looking through a website. We look at the next one. This is a really cool one. If you're a student that is struggling with writing, maybe you're an English learner that doesn't have the vocabulary, doesn't quite know the terms, you don't know, I don't know, I'm supposed to write about a bird, right? This what is that, a goose, whatever it is. What am I going to do? Well, it's going to give you a bunch of nouns, adjectives, adverbs, verbs, all sorts of words that you could put together in your writing. So this is great for ideation and especially for our English learners. All right, let's look at a couple more things. That De-Stress Monday has some great ideas for stress management that you could share with kids. So that's a great one. There's more. There's another breathing GIF. Again, you could put these inside your slides, whether you're presenting them or not. And also, if you're just wondering, like, what is appropriate developmentally in regards to executive functioning? And when we talk about executive function, we're talking about that prefrontal cortex, which is planning, organizing, time management, all of that self-management stuff. If you say, I don't even know like what I should expect of my kindergartners, because guess what? It's not 20 minutes sitting and listening. That's not developmentally appropriate for a 5-year-old, right? But if you want to know what is appropriate, you can check out this article. It's linked in the resources. Awesome. Eric talked a bit about Google Keep. Love, 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 love Google Keep. I use it in my personal life. It's great for young students too. So definitely check out Google Keep. And you'll see that you can actually have kids like take notes and on what they're doing there with Google Keep. If we move on, you'll see some other examples. So definitely check out Google Keep if you haven't already. And let's move forward. And this one, actually, Eric gave me this one. This one's pretty cool. He told me about this one. So thank you, Eric. This is called Goblin Tools. And so if you have students that have a large task and they need to break it down into pieces, they just don't know where to start. This one's pretty cool. So I said, create a presentation for educators about accessibility tools, including brain research and SEL. And it told me all these things to do. Research available tools, gather information on brain research, compile information on SEL. So it's a great way to break large tasks into something smaller. All right. So feel free to check out wonderexplorelearn.com for more resources. Particularly in regards to SEL and stuff. If you want the most up-to-date EdTech tools, though, definitely check out Eric's website because I do not blog as often as I used to. And thank you again. I really appreciate all that you're doing. And remember, accessibility isn't just about the tools. It's also about managing and being aware ourselves of our social emotional health.
Thank you so much, Kat. Saw a lot of tools, but now have way too many tabs open because I'm excited to dig into all of them. So I appreciate both you and Eric for sharing. And I want to remind everybody that the slides have all of these resources in them as well. You've registered for tonight, and so you will be receiving a follow-up email that will link the slides and all of the resources again. So even if all your tabs aren't open now, they will be later because you'll be getting all of this sent to your email inbox to sort of dig in and dive into. We wanted to just take a moment. It's really exciting and cool that we get to have some time to have Q&A with our presenters. And so it's a little bit of an open floor, but before we totally open it up, Eric, there were some questions that came in the chat while you were presenting. So I'm wondering if we could just take a minute to look at those. Okay,
absolutely.
Great. So when you were sharing about some of your speech to text tools, there was a question on if you have any particular tools that you would recommend for speech to text that can be used with students who may have articulation errors or who are just difficult to understand. So do you have any that you feel can support that or maybe have a higher accuracy rate than others?
Right. So the short answer is there's better stuff coming. Let's say that. The longer answer is right now, yeah, if you're using like Doc's voice typing, that is very accurate. It does a really, really good job. But you're right. If a student has a something unique about how they're speaking, it may have a difficult time picking that up. Well, Google, who has developed Doc's voice typing and the technology behind that, they have also been working on exactly what you're describing here. I don't know if I can look it up fast enough to find it. But I'm pulling it right now. Oh, there it is. Paratron is the name of the technology they've been working on. Let me go ahead and I will copy and paste this into, let me see, that's not the most exciting link I've got there. I'll put that one as a starting point, but Paratron, basically what it is doing is It's AI that learns how you speak. And so basically it's going to be customized to the speaker. So if somebody has a unique quality in how they speak, the AI will pick that up over time, get custom trained to how they're speaking, and then will be able to, they can speak and it'll type up exactly what they are saying. So the thing is, it's not readily available. It's not like, commercially available or out yet. But that's the research they're doing. And so the good news is way more powerful stuff is coming because of AI. Right now, I would say stuff like, be in a quiet room with a good mic, things like that can help out as well. Yeah.
That's so cool. Thank you. And it helped me to see that in the chat that it was Parrotron, like it's parroting.
Parrotron, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the technology behind it. Somewhere, and if I find it, I'll drop it back in the chat. There's this wonderful blog post they do where they have videos where they're showing a gentleman using it and how it gets trained on him and how well it is typing up everything that he is saying. It's so impressive. I'll see if I can find that.
Awesome. Thanks. It's hard to keep up with the number of questions that you all are receiving in the chat. So I feel a little bit like I'm drawing the lottery when I pick a question, but I'm going to choose the next one. This is for both Eric and Kat. There's a teacher in our group that has 2 colorblind students. And so wondering if there's any apps or Chrome extensions that change the colors of Google Slide presentations to different colors so that they can see better or help with maybe some of those visual impairment issues.
Yes, there are. So there is an extension that's in my document, in my list under readability tools. It's called Color Enhancer. That one, if you scroll down to the readability section, you can get an access to that. I'll go ahead and drop the link directly to that extension in the chat as well, but it's under readability and it's called Color Enhancer. And basically it gives multiple strips of icons and colors, and you choose the strip that's easiest to view, and then it adjusts the screen for that. And then Google on Chromebooks just the other day, I apologize, I'm turning away because I'm trying to pull it up on the screen next to me here on my Chromebook. They just added, what is it called? I just saw it pop up the other day. Color correction is now a brand new accessibility tool that just got added. I'm still exploring it. It's called color correction. Same idea. It allows you to see multiple samples, choose what works best, and the Chromebook will adjust to match that. So those are 2 right there.
Yeah, those are great ones, Eric. I wasn't aware of those, but I know Adobe has some also. So if you're wanting to look at your own colors, put in an image from your slides or whatever, I put a link in the chat and that can help as well. And that's a big deal to think about. My husband actually is colorblind, and when the I forget what they call them, that I should know this, but the 3x2 or whatever, like California scorecards to show where schools are at on the dashboard, he couldn't even see it in a staff meeting. Like, I can't tell the difference, so this means nothing to me. And I'm like, come on. But which, by the way, that I think they're working on that. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, the SARC report, so to speak. I saw a question about, Stephanie may be able to help you out about the apps and if they're accessible and their prices. I think Eric I gave just free apps that free versions work. I think Eric did as well.
Exactly the same. All of those are free.
Yeah.
Some have a paid version, but everyone has a viable, useful free version.
That being said, depending on the district that you're in, sometimes districts require you to ask for extensions before they'll, and don't allow you to put them on yourself. So you'll have to check with your IT.
Great. Thanks for answering that question. I was noticing too that all the tools are free or either have a freemium price structure. Similar, going back also to speech to text, but this time the reverse, text to speech. Do you have one that you like the sound, like one that sounds less computery? So there was a question about a lot of times when you're using tools like that, the voice that's generated just sounds very robotic. So do you have one that you recommend or a way to sort of adjust that for students?
I mean, so again, it's getting better all the time. I'd say today, right now, this very minute, the ones that sound best to me, Microsoft's Immersive Reader, I find to be very, very good, very natural. And the Chromebook voices, the voices you can pick on a Chromebook are exceptional. The one that I showed from Read and Write, yeah, a little computery. I will admit that. Having said that, even that tool, I didn't demonstrate this, but you can go into the settings and pick from like 100 different voices, and you can find one that is, more of a match for you. But to my ear, Microsoft's Immersive Reader, phenomenal voices in there, and the Chromebook built-in voices likewise are.
I find Microsoft has Immersive Reader built into a lot of tools, which I think is pretty good compared to many. There used to be an Immersive Reader third-party extension, which now doesn't work. But I just learned that there's another one, but I don't have the link for it. But if you can find an Immersive Reader one, those are pretty good. But Eric's right; they're all getting better all the time. So this is
And the
definitely
advent of AI is what's causing so much of it, because a lot of them now are having, AI powering that that speech, and it's spooky how realistic it is becoming. That to the point that the voices are adding pauses, they're adding some breathing sounds, they're adding, some uhs in there every now and then. Amazing. Yeah.
the tech is there. I mean, the deep fakes that they can do with voices included mean that
Mhm.
the tech is there. They just have
Yeah.
to get to the education sector, right? Or the accessibility sector.
Yeah, Joe is sharing in the chat that Speechify has Snoop Dogg. So if you're looking for that to be one of your voices, then Speechify may be the tool for you. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Immersive Reader, you can speed it up or slow it down. And I find that that's also helpful for students. Sometimes it's just the speed that's
And that's true with the Chromebook one. That's true with Read and Write. They all have in the settings a slider on the speed as well. So you're right. Some students helps just to slow it down. Others, I speed it up because I can listen a lot faster than than it's speaking, and so I find I get through things a lot faster.
awesome. Okay, and another going back to some of the earlier ones, when you, Eric, were showing Postlight Reader, and I think Kat, you had some resources too about how to sort of clean up something that's an article online and sort of eliminate the distractions. Do you have a tool that you would recommend, like Postlight Reader, that makes those then able to download that clean version into a PDF so that you can print it out?
Well, keep in mind, you can do that with any of them just by pretending you're going to print the page. So if I'm in Postlight Reader, I'm on a Windows device right now, so Control P for print, or whatever the appropriate shortcut is for you, and just choose Save as PDF for the printer, and it will print it to a PDF. That's usually my suggestion. If you like Postlight Reader and what it generates, just pretend you're going to print it, but choose Save as PDF, and doop, there you go. You've got a PDF version of it.
I always forget about that trick. I don't know why I always forget that one. I'm going to pause and see if there's any other questions that I might have missed from the chat that maybe one of our planning team has captured. I think there was a specific question of, can you give a quick summary of how to access OCR on images? And that was for Eric.
Well, I mean, with OCR, basically, that's just optical character recognition, which means it's the technology that looks at a picture and pulls the words out of it. And that's a technology we've had for 20 years. I mean, it's been around forever. It's just, are certain tools using it or not? And it's getting better all the time. So, for example, the one that I was showing, was what's called Google Lens. Google Lens exists as a mobile app if you want to use it there. It's inside of Google Photos as well. I was showing it though by getting to it through a simple right click. If you're in Google Chrome, any image you click on, doesn't matter what it is, if you right click on an image and you choose search image with Google, it opens up the Google Lens side panel, which includes the ability to do OCR. Basically, it has a tab for text. You click text and it will, boop, it'll pull out the text. You can then have it read the text, translate the text, you can copy the text, things like that. Now, you can also, from that same search image with Google, you can ask it to find like the image source. This is a good way we show people to evaluate the authenticity of an image they come across. Like, is that really what it says it is? And it can find where the image come from, or where has it been used, or websites that reference it, so you can learn more about where that image is. Yeah.
And Google Keep does that as well. If you take a picture of something in your Google Keep, the three little dots is like, looks kind of like a snowman, is where Google keeps all the fun, more options, I think. And so they say grab image text, I think it's called. So that's another way if you happen to be using your phone instead of on a browser base. Snap and read. Okay, Joe. Not familiar with that one. One to check out for sure. I saw an interesting question about any resources that filter trimmers with a mouse. I would imagine maybe just the sensitivity level or something, but Eric, I don't know if you have any ideas for that. I don't have any off the top of my head.
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah, I was curious about that one too. I don't have any either, but I'm wondering, we have a big group with us today. So if you know of any resources that help to filter tremors with a mouse, please put them in the chat. I'm wondering, while we have a moment, I know that students are always at the center of our work, but I'm curious, Kat and Eric, what's a favorite new tool that you've been using maybe for yourselves lately that has improved your workflow? Or yeah, I loved Kat, your GIFs for Mindful Monday. Yeah. Is there anything else that you're loving just for yourself right now?
Well, I mean, just in regards to AI, I pay for it, but I know I actually told Stephanie about this because I was so excited. I have trouble with like my to-do lists and prioritizing and figuring out where it all fits on my calendar. And so there's an app called Motion, or it's web-based. And so I'll put in, it links to 2 calendars that I have, plus so it knows when I have spaces to do stuff. And my challenge was always like, well, what do I do first? And oh, now a new task came in and it's due this date, but that's due that date. And this is going to take this long. So I tell it, and it like creates my schedule for me. And for me, it saves me, it's worth the money because it's saving me time. But hopefully there'll be something that's free soon as well. So that's mine. I am willing to pay for the less stress. How about you, Eric?
Well, I mean, so it's going to be the generic answer of ChatGPT, but the paid version. Yes, I do pay for ChatGPT, and I find it to be worth that. And I use Google Bard as well. I jump between all of them, Copilot, Claude, I use all of them. So let's just say large language models in general. I think of them as my assistant. It's like, the fact that, every teacher can have their own TA now if they want. They can have their own teaching assistant. We can all have our own assistant. All throughout the day, there's things that I bounce off of the AI, whether it's helping me brainstorm. I've got, a training coming up soon about that's going to deal with some gifted education things. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I feel like I've got some things toward that, but it's like, oh, I really could use some more ideas. And I've just been planning with the AI. It's been really helping me process through a lot of stuff. And so, yes, absolutely my go-to as one of my sources that I turn to as I'm working through anything nowadays.
Cool. Yeah, Kat, I remember you telling me about that. And then Rod, one of our colleagues, had shared that there's a website called there's an AI for that.com. And so I was like, okay, Kat gave me one that's paid. Let's see if I can find one that's free. But I haven't found one that seems as productive as the one that you shared. Yeah.
I bet it's coming. I bet
Yeah.
it's
Too.
coming.
Well, before we close our Q&A session, I have one more question from the chat, which is we've shared a lot of tools that help with general accessibility, but do you have any in particular that you would recommend for English language learners?
I mean, I will say in brief that I have an entire document on that, and I will copy the link and I will drop it into the chat here for you guys. And there are quite a number of those in there. So I'm putting it in the chat right now. It's bit.ly/Curts-ELL Google. These are not all Google tools again, but they play nicely in the Google ecosystem. And that document has a pretty wide range. Now, some of these are going to be absolute crossovers. You can be like, well, this was in your accessibility one. Yeah, because, tools that meet people where they're at, sometimes those can be very good for English language learners as well. So to say like what's the best in that group, who knows? But something I might throw in as just some ones to give a shout out to in that list. Can't say enough good things about the Google Translate extension. Basically, you can just highlight any text and the little pop-up comes up there. You click it, it gives you the text in the language it's in already, as well as translate into the language of your choice, and it will read both of those aloud. So it's perfect to use anytime you need a translation and a pronunciation. Other things like when you're watching a YouTube video, obviously you can show closed captions on the screen. Hopefully, you can also ask YouTube to translate those captions so the students can be watching the video in English while reading the transcript in their language of choice. But there are extensions, like there's one, it's called Glot Dojo or Glow Dojo. It's GLOTDOJO, and it can show up to 3 different translations at one time on any video that's playing. It'll do, 3 lines of translation. So if you had a class that was watching a video that you're showing and you had students who had different primary languages, you could have all of those on there at the same time while you're showing the video. So those are just a couple of quick ones I pull out of that document, but I would encourage you to explore that one as well.
I would agree with, I was going to talk about some of the Google tools as well. So agreed with that. And then I would just add something that this is a non-tech type thing, but I found that getting English learners to listen and draw, and sketch, can be really effective, or having them sketch before they write. That sketching process and doodling can be really powerful as well. And then you could take a picture and put it on a Google site, and then they can, or on a Google slide, and they can all talk about it. So it was a yes and I suppose.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, thank you again both so much for sharing your expertise with us. And thank you everybody who chimed in the chat with questions and with also suggestions and recommendations for those questions. Appreciate the collective wisdom in the space. I'm going to pass it back to Tawny.
All right, thank you so much, Stephanie. And just one note on tools supporting EL learners. Our very first EdTech Playground last year actually focused on this very thing. And Eric, I think you were actually our presenter.
I was one of them. I was talking about Moat for that particular one. And you could apply similar things to, Beep or other tools like that. But we were focusing on Moat and how audio could be used to help support English language learners. That video is still available. I've shared it on my blog before and people have really appreciated it. So thanks for having me last year for that.
Yeah, thanks for coming back today as well. So if you're interested in checking out that recording, it is on our EdTech Playground website. All of our recordings are on there. So that's just another resource to go dive into to support your EL learners. So we can go ahead and move on to the next slide. And we're going to start our closing and do just a couple things to wrap up our connections between EdTech and computer science. And then we'll go into some housekeeping around the stipend and how you can access that. We'll sign out, And then we'll have our California Educators Together folks talk about their amazing opportunity. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. You all know Kat. She is going to make these connections for us between EdTech and computer science. So Kat, back to you.
Thank you. So today we talked a lot about accessibility, and it was all ways that we have that we are using computing devices to increase that accessibility and really make for a more inclusive world. And so that aligns to a core concept, which is one of the 5 core concepts in the computer science standards: impacts of computing, having kids thinking about the fact that technology can have a positive and a negative impact. We talked a little bit about self-awareness in that. And then fostering an inclusive computing culture is one of the practices of the standards as well. So, and I just pulled a quick quote from the introduction of the standards. It says, "It is vital that all core subjects, including computer science, are not merely inclusionary, but that instruction uses practices that actively engage students and increase access for underserved populations." Many of our students that are using these tools are typically underrepresented in computer science and in other STEM spaces. And so increasing access by using technology is a great way to support an inclusionary computing culture.
Thanks so much, Kat. And I want to remind you all that we hope we get to play with you again. Our next EdTech Playground is on March 26th. Same place and time, so 3:30 to 5 p.m. virtual Pacific Standard Time if you're joining us from outside of California. And today, Kat talked a little bit about UDL. And if you're interested in ways to sort of support multiple means of expression, the next session will be perfect for you. So we'll be talking about creative expressions using student voice for change. And our 2 guest speakers will be KQED, which is a sort of a media organization on the West Coast, and Soundtrap. So it's going to be great. And in just a moment, we'll drop the link to register in the chat. If you've already registered for today, then you don't need to worry about it. You're sort of in our Teacher Innovation Network cycle. You'll get the emails and the reminders and the invite to join us in March. We also want to let you know that we have a humble but growing group on Facebook. So we invite you to join us on Facebook. A lot of what happens on Facebook is that we really take time to go in and dig into the resources that were shared, share what we're excited about, what we're trying, what's working. So just a plug that if you're on Facebook, come and find us and join us. All right, well, we want to thank you all again for coming and playing with us today at the EdTech Playground. We hope that you enjoyed, that you left with some resources that you can use. And on the next slide is my cue to pass it over to our guests. So we're really excited that we're able to offer you as a California educator some opportunities to earn some extra stipends. And so part of that is coming to the EdTech Playground and attending the sessions and doing the asynchronous work. And there's an opportunity to sort of extend. So if you're excited and inspired about the tools that we've shared in the EdTech Playgrounds and you would like to put them together into lessons, then California Educators Together is for you. So if you would like to hold on, we are going to take a 2-minute screen break, right? It's important for us to just take a little pause. So I'm going to invite you all to, for the next 2 minutes, just turn your cameras off, your mics off. We'll come back at 5 and we'll pass it over to California Educators Together. You're welcome to stay on to hear a little bit more about their lesson design institutes and workshops. So go ahead and take a quick break for your eyes, and we'll come back at 5.
Have they responded to you yet?
Hi, it's not letting me sign out still.
All right, thanks for letting us know that. We're going to drop in a Google Doc where you can manually add your name just so we can follow up with you later and get you into our system. But just so we don't lose your name, I'm going to drop that link in the chat now.
Thank you.
No problem.
And if you're someone else who's also struggling maybe to sign out, then we invite you to click on the link that Tawny just put into the chat for manually signing in and signing out via a Google Doc.
And if you were able to sign in and out on our fill out platform, don't worry about this manual doc. This is just for anyone who's having some technical difficulties. So if you're signed out, you are good to go, or you are good to stay on and hear from Jamie and Cecilia, who will be up in just a few minutes.
So Tawny, I just got a question and I've received an email about private school California teachers. So for our EdTech playgrounds, they are not eligible for the stipend, unfortunately, right?
Unfortunately, that's correct. Yeah, we've worked with the CDE Foundation, and just the way the grant is written, the language is around stipends for public educators. The great thing about our PD though is that it's free. So you're walking away with some really great experience and resources, but unfortunately the stipend is for public school educators. And, the CDE Foundation is really in charge of that. It's not a Teacher Innovation Network guideline. So great question, Krista. Thanks for helping me clarify that.
And California Educators Together, yes. I was gonna ask for you to share. Perfect.
They are eligible for our stipend.
Yay!
Yeah.
All right. With that, I'm gonna welcome you all back. I hope that you had a chance to take a quick break, maybe get a drink of water or a snack if you're like Kat and you get hangry, which I know I can totally relate to. I'd like to welcome our guests from California Educators Together. So thank you so much for joining us, and I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Well, thank you for having us first. Cecilia and I are in different rooms. So are you unmuted? Yeah, there she is.
I'm here, yes.
So I do have a slide deck, so I'm going to go ahead and share that, and we'll get going. Oh no, can I not share?
You should be able to. Jesse, are you able to stop sharing your screen? Thanks.
Okay. So as Tin let you know, we are California Educators Together, and I'm Jamie Butler, and
I'm here. I'm Cecilia Estrada, and I'm a program specialist supporting California Educators Together.
So we both work for Kern County Superintendent of Schools. That's our county office of education. And we're going to tell you a little bit about our grant and how our positions came to be. So California Educators Together is brought to you by a collaboration from the Department of Education, the CDE Foundation, and Kern Superintendent of Schools. So it's like 2 years ago, there was a grant that was part of a bill, and a bunch of different county offices put in for it, and it was to take over and run this online platform called California Educators Together. So it used to be a CTE platform, and when we took it over, we kind of changed the look of it and what exactly it was. And so do you want to talk a little bit about our vision?
Yeah. So the vision of our project and the platform is to increase equity and access to high quality resources and also professional development across the state. So we do this by providing comprehensive space for educators at all levels to impact teacher efficacy and student achievement. So we do this by providing some of the 3 buckets that you see here. So we have ready to use resources that are free to access for all educators. We also have demo videos and access to teachers through these videos or podcasts. So some of the educators that create these lessons also create videos, or we film videos of the lesson happening, or they do a podcast where they become teachers to other teachers across the state. And we also offer professional development and learning communities within the platform.
So some of the things you'll find on California Educators Together are ready-to-use resources. We're currently onboarding different resource providers. So one example of that would be Open SciEd, who offers their curriculum completely free to teachers. For right now, it's just middle school, but they're currently working on building out high school and then elementary school as well. And they include all the resources needed to teach the lesson. So it's really cool. We're also working with Project Crusk, which is, can you help me, Cecilia?
I believe this was ethnic studies.
Yes, that's right.
Curriculum,
That's
yeah.
right. So those are some of the ready-to-use resources from just high quality professionals. We also have high quality lessons that teachers like yourselves are helping to provide for the platform. And then as Cecilia said, we have demo videos and our podcasts. And then we also offer a community of professional learning and practices. So your schools could have their own professional learning hub or group hub on the platform. And then you have access to things like the San Diego Science Project, where they share free resources for teachers.
So when we're talking about high quality lessons, these are the components that we use to define high quality. We make sure that our lessons created for the platform are standards-based. They do have integrated ELD or English language development, and we focus on integrating universal design for learning within all the lessons. So if you attend one of our institutes or workshops, we walk you through the professional development needed to be able to complete a high quality lesson. Once the lesson's approved, you get paid for that, and your lesson becomes a high quality lesson on the platform that teachers have access to.
So we're going to drop a link to this into the chat so that you have access to this to explore a little bit later. You do have to have an account set up on California Educators Together to be able to explore some of these lessons, but it is completely free. And so lessons can be accessed through units. So up at the top here, these are some sample units that have lessons that go together and just correlate. You could think of it as like if you were going to teach a writing unit, it might be like a 5-day writing or 5-day lesson plan. And then down here, these are just some standout lessons, some of the favorites that we've created or that we've seen come in. We tried to do all different grade levels here, but this will be just a chance for you to explore and see what you can find on the platform or what maybe be inspired to create.
And here we also linked a couple of our community groups. So these are specific to either someone owns the group or a specific department. Like the first one is our KCSOS STEAM team. They have their own group and they provide all of the lessons that they do that are STEAM focused. Jamie and I worked on this content creators group that we actually are still building on. We are creating lessons that focus on having students become content creators and just make those lessons more engaging. So if you're interested in that, that group has lots of lessons and resources that focus on that. Then there's Jamie's and my group. Everything that we create for the platform, resources and lessons go into our groups, so you can become part of our community groups and access everything that's there. We also have, like she said, a resource providers group. So if you want to access the Open SciEd curriculum, you can join their group. We also have the California State Parks. They have their own group inside the platform and they upload all of their lessons and resources there as well. We also have the San Diego Science Project, which is another big one that has lots of resources and lessons. So you could be part of those community groups inside the platform as well.
Go ahead.
So we added this slide here. We want to pay you to create lessons if this is something that you want to be part of. So we do have some opportunities for you to get involved. One of the ways is by attending our lesson design workshop. So what Tawny mentioned earlier was the Lesson Design Institute, which is a bigger group kind of PD, but the lesson design workshop is more of a flipped classroom model. So if you are interested in joining a workshop, how it works is we send you a pre-work s'more that you would have to complete before the workshop. So it's about 4 hours worth of pre-work. And at the day of the workshop, it's a one-day event, which we actually come to you. So if you could get a group of teachers that want to do this, we could talk about how to set it up. We go to you and we do the one-day event there after you completed the pre-work. So the pre-work consists of watching videos that focus on the content that we mentioned. So the integrated ELD, UDL, and just lesson development overall. If you complete all of that, you should have 3 lessons by the end of the workshop and the pre-work hours. You do get paid $1,000 once your lessons are submitted and vetted to our team. The other option, we are actually just finishing this one up, and it will be coming very, very soon. So we just finished creating a online course. So if the workshop is something that is not for you, but you still want to create those lessons and get the stipend, we have a course that will be launching very soon. We approximate this to be about 12 hours worth of work or interactive coursework. Same process, you will be creating or adapting 3 of your existing lessons, making sure that they have those 3 components of being a high quality lesson. And you also get paid $1,000 once your lessons are approved and vetted. Something new that we also just got news on last week or the weekend of the Institute. So if you complete either one of these 2, the workshop or the course, you are eligible to purchase 2 units from CSUB. So if that's something that you need to move up in your salary, that is available as well. After your 3 lessons are submitted and approved, you could obtain those 2 units through California State University, Bakersfield. So those were very exciting news because a lot of educators look forward to that. So now you have the opportunity to get the stipend and also the units if that's something that you want. I'm not sure if I missed anything, Jamie, but I know that was a lot of information.
I'll just add 2 points. The first being that it does say 1,000 plus on here, and that's because any subsequent lessons after your first 3 are paid out at $100 each. And so once your first 3 lessons are vetted and we can see that you do know how to do the high quality and you can pass vetting, then we kind of open it up and let you create more if that's something you're interested in. And those, like I said, are paid out at $100 each. And then for the salary advancement units, that's in addition to the $1,000. So you'll get paid your $1,000 for creating the lessons, and then you can use part of that money to pay for your advancement units. And so it is $150 for those 2 units through Cal State Bakersfield. We do have other opportunities. So as I just said, you can submit additional lessons and get $100 per lesson. We are also looking for vetters. So once you have created a unit and it's been approved and you've gone through the process, you can go through an extra training and you can actually be one of the approved vetters who's helping us approve lessons across the state. And then the different opportunities grow from here. If you want to get really invested in the grant and the program, we have opportunities for you to facilitate and become a workshop leader, and that's just kind of grows from there. So we have lots of ways for you to get involved if this is an initiative that you want to support. So if you want more information, we're going to take questions in just a minute, but you can access the Google form from this slide. So this will be just to say that you are interested in either bringing a workshop to your school or community. In order to bring a workshop, you need as little as 5 people. So it could be you and your closest teacher friends getting together on a Saturday, and we will send someone out to you to run the workshop. So if you fill out this form, we can get in touch with you. And then if you're interested in possibly completing the asynchronous course, registration hasn't quite yet opened. We anticipate it opening this month, but it is limited to the first 50 registrants. So we do encourage you to fill out the Google form so that you can get notified once registration opens.
And if you have more questions, email our team, email Jamie and Ceci, and yeah, happy Tuesday.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.